Let's move on. We have the Houston Texans versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got to say, man, the Houston Texans, whoever made this schedule for the Houston Texans, you open with Kansas City, then you go to Baltimore or play Baltimore, then you got Pittsburgh coming in right behind that. Just the worst three-game opening that I can ever remember. Houston, man, it's a tough boat. But let me hit you with projections, man. So we got Deshaun Watson. To me, is probably an auto start. I'm starting him this week. David Johnson, because of Pittsburgh's defense is good, I don't have a great projection, although I am a start on him this week just because I think he'll get you the volume. He came close to getting a really deep grab, too, I think, down the sideline. He had opportunities, so he'll be fine. It's just, look, Baltimore's a tough matchup, and I know Pittsburgh's a tough matchup. He'll be fine, so I'm not worried about that. Will Fuller, hey, the hamstring struck again. My gosh. So,
didn't take long either.
Didn't take long. I was shocked that he made it. Honestly, I was shocked that he made it through week one. I mean, this isn't any surprise if you follow Will Fuller. So that means, Cooks and Cobb are the next guys up. Do you feel good about starting them? No, but I think you got to play Cooks just based on volume. The tight ends are intriguing to me. Fells gets in the end zone. Akins gets another high yardage day. Something you should be keeping an eye on. The distribution with DeAndre Hopkins is out, and now Will Fuller's out. This thing's going to be spread open, and I think that we're also going to see Deshaun Watson run the ball more because I think he's going to have to. As for Pittsburgh, Roethlisberger, the analytics, again, they're using a lot of 2019 stuff, so we're catching up. So I'm trying to get rid of the Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges effect. I am a start on Ben Roethlisberger. I love the weaponry he has. James Conner comes out. He was a little banged up. Was he going to split snaps with Benny Snell? Was his job at risk? Well, he put that to rest against a pretty decent, I think, Denver defense. I'm a start on him. I'm a start on 3 wide receivers for Pittsburgh every week. Juju Smith-Schuster and Diontae Johnson are slam dunks, and it is only a matter of time before Claypool breaks out. Claypool is almost like another DK Metcalf. He is a physical freak. He's just not getting the snap count, but when he's in there, you can see him. I mean, he looks to me like Terrell Owens did, when he was playing at his prime. He's just a massive, massive threat. I like James Washington. This offense can support 4 receivers, but it's only a matter of time before Claypool really starts breaking out. So especially if you're in deeper leagues, pick him up if he's still available. And I'm a sell on Pittsburgh's tight end every week unless you're looking for daily fantasy. Take it away, David.
Well, let's just start about the Texans. I'm not even going to talk about them because there's nothing to even talk about there for me. If you drafted Deshaun Watson and David Johnson, you're probably starting them just based on where you draft them. You don't have a choice. Other than that, I don't want nothing to do with it. Will Fuller, talk about the injury. Don't want to take a chance on him. Brandon Cooks, how can you justify putting him in the starting lineup right now? Just avoid that team until they face some easier matchups.
A slight disagreement there. Fells is one of these guys, and I'm away from wide receivers, the same thing you said, but Fells is like a guy, if you look back at his stats last year, he had like 3, maybe even 4 2-touchdown games. Like Watson will look for him on the goal line. But what I don't like is that this is kind of a 2 tight end team now. So you have a distribution of targets there instead of a consolidated. So I'm more of a buy if one of those guys gets hurt on the other guy. But if you're in a standard or touchdown only league, I think those guys have some value. But under kind of a standard, like PPR, half PPR, anything like that, I do stay away because you can find value elsewhere.
And it was Fells last week. It was Akins the week before.
You're right, exactly.
I'm not taking a chance on either of those guys.
Yeah, no argument.
But yeah, on the other side, you talk about Pittsburgh, you talk about Claypool. He's got 5 reception, averaging 25.4 yards per reception right now. So if he can see that snap count go up, it almost seems inevitable at this point that he's going to take James Conner's 3 wide receiver snaps. It's a when, not an if.
Yeah, right. I think you meant James Washington, right? His wide receiver.
James Washington.
Yeah.
My apologies. I got Conner on the mind.
Yeah.
Talk about James Conner and Benny Snell. We were kind of expecting a little bit of a split backfield this week. Conner out-snapped him 50 snaps to 10 snaps. So it was clearly the James Conner show.
Yeah.
I would love to say, sell him now. I will say sell him now. Sell him now if you can. Get out from under the James Conner rug.
Especially in a dynasty or keeper.
Get out from it while you can, all right? But with that being said, the Houston Texans right now through 2 weeks have the 6th most fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs who they face this week. If James Conner can, and at this point, betting on James Conner to stay healthy for one more week feels like betting on, I don't know, like
Will Fuller.
Meteor to hit today. Like it's probably unlikely. But if he can have another good game against the Texans, his value is going to continue to rise. People are going to be more willing to buy him off your team after he's stacked 2 good games as opposed to just this one. I don't know if anyone's going out and overpaying for Connor after just 1 good game. After this next game, hopefully he can stack 1 more. Get him off your roster.
I'll say this, on the Monday night game, I know that the injury and he was out, like literally Snell looked more physically strong as a running back. He looked like the best running back on the roster. I have not watched the Pittsburgh game from this past week, so maybe I'll go back on my words when I actually watch the film against... I'm sorry, they played Denver this week. Who did they play? The Giants. Snell against the Giants looked better than Connor did. So yeah, I mean, I like Connor, but I just think that he's going to be overtaken for this job. Whether it's this season or next season, I don't know. It's going to happen soon. So if you're in a keeper or a dynasty league, maybe you wait past this week and you sell on him and try to get some talent coming in the door. And yeah, I mean, do you remember, David, when Martavis Bryant was the 3rd wide receiver in Pittsburgh?
I remember Martavis Bryant? This heart has been broken by Martavis Bryant. I bought in on Martavis Bryant. I called him the next Randy Moss at one point. Those words came out of my mouth. I can't believe I'm admitting that right now.
Well, if he didn't have the off the field stuff, who knows, right? So you can't really say you're wrong, although you were wrong. But history has proven you wrong anyway. But he had physical talent. But what I'm saying is, Claypool could have that kind of upside. It's not going to hurt Diontae Johnson. It's not going to hurt Juju Smith-Schuster. But man, this is a team that can put up points. Let me hit you with the spread here, David. Let's see here. Houston plus 4.5. This is another one that's dead on the marker for me. Houston plus 4.5. Against Pittsburgh. Who are you going to take?
I flip a coin. I don't like picking either of these teams just because Pittsburgh, I feel like we give them too much credit at times. So I'll take the Texans in the points here just to keep it somewhat close.
I think, the Texans, they're not a bad team. They played 2 really good teams. So I think we're going to get a spirited game. I think we're going to get a high-scoring game, even though Pittsburgh's defense is obviously very good. I'm waffling, too. I mean, I literally put this line at 4, so to 4.5 is just like, I'm just going to stay away from it. I wrote down this morning Houston. I just scratched it out and wrote Pittsburgh. To be honest with you, by the time we do our get paid picks and everything on Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it is, I might switch it back to Houston. I don't know. For this podcast and for purposes of tracking, I'll take Pittsburgh now just to add a little intrigue and drama.